Yo, what's up, truth seekers? Welcome back. So it's just me today. Oh hell yeah! Oh hell yeah! Simple Simon is not available. We were supposed to be on last night, but had a little event last night. Went to a ACLU, an Alliance Defending Freedom debate here in Arizona. It was called God and Faith in Politics or something like that. It was pretty good. Pretty good. Put on by Arizona Talks. I enjoyed it. Dr. Yasser from the American Islamic Defense Initiative or something. He was there. He's a solid guy. And the funniest part about it was there's always crazies at these things, right? And there was one dude while Jim from the Alliance Defending Freedom was talking who screamed, "Hypocrite!" And they had warned everyone they weren't supposed to shout or boo or hiss because it was supposed to be very civil. And it was a very diverse crowd. And then later he yelled at them again and people started swearing at each other. And I thought, man, I've never seen this happen in a church before. This is amazing. But kudos to Arizona Talks for the good event. It was a lot of fun. And tonight, since I'm flying solo, which I've never done, I just want to mention if you've joined us for the first couple streams, I've got some software that's going to make it easier for me to share video and screen sharing. So I'm really stoked about that. Hopefully I'll have that up in the next few weeks. And some other technological advances to make this a little more fun and a little more interesting, at least for me, because how could it be more interesting for you? Speaking of, do you ever feel like, hold on, this is how long it takes me to get the screen the way that I want it. Do you ever feel like this guy? Like you're in a world surrounded by people like this. Hold on. Gotta click this again. Oh, I can't wait till this isn't a thing anymore. Here we go.
Because of your face too, your reaction will be priceless. Ow! Fuck. Ow! Holy shit! Ow! Holy fuck! That was pretty cool. Don't do it again.
Sorry for the swearing, children. Yeah. So, what was your thought when you saw that? Mine was he voted.
I don't know if you guys can see, but that coil is like red hot. Hey, my name's Jamie Francis, and
there's more people doing it afterwards. People will do anything to be a Kardashian, anything to be famous. What would be really nice is that they would just do things worth seeing, hearing, and writing about to be famous, and not stupid things that risk their health and bodily injury. Nothing new to that, nothing wrong with it. Hey, by all means, my problem is one of the comments I saw in there was, this is why I can't pay for your health care. We always hear about the people whose life could be irrecoverably changed through no fault of their own and would lose their livelihood because they don't have access to free health care. And then you have, for every one of them, you have 3 of these jokers. Some other ones. This one was pretty funny. I can't imagine how dumb this guy's kids are going to be. Yep, I wish he had put his balls on the coil instead of his arm. That's pretty funny. And my own was that this guy's going to vote Democrat in life, and he's going to vote Democrat in death. So that was pretty dang funny. Now, tonight I want to talk about 3 things. 1, Obama wants to know everything. Of course he does. Information is the ultimate cryptocurrency. I truly hate these people, and must Carthage be destroyed? That was a quote that Cato, the last citizen of Rome, would use every time that he finished a speech. Carthage must be destroyed. Now, that's something that would have gotten Cato locked up today and accused of being unwilling to work and reach across the aisle, work with the other side, a very partisan, hardcore, maybe right-wing comment. But was he right? Why should you care? Was Cato was the last one to stand up against Julius Caesar and was executed for his troubles, and Rome fell into a full dictatorship, emperor, and eventually collapsed as a result. So I want to talk about that a little bit. I want to start with, I truly hate these people. Now, it's interesting to me that in a world where speech is turned into violence, where the First Amendment is under fire, and where the worst thing you can be is a hateful bigot of any kind, that you would catch people in the government, in the highest offices of honor and faith of the American people, speaking like this about their fellow citizens of whom they serve. Now, in this example, I'm talking about the instance of Mr. Strzok, who we've heard so much about, and his friend Lisa Page, texting silliness about how awful certain people in America are. I have the site here. Hold on, I'll go ahead and pull it up for you. Give me a sec. Again, if I buy my little streaming device, I don't have to wait at all. It'll just happen like magic. So I'm using this new browser called Brave. You ever heard of it? It's made by Brandon Eichmann, the guy who basically got kicked out of Mozilla for giving pro regular marriage funds years and years ago. He got doxxed and run out of town. And the only thing I don't like about it, it kills ads. It doesn't show any on the page. Supposedly you can get paid for using it, which I don't really care about. But every now and then it just doesn't work. It's like totally craps out. All right, it's back. Here we go. So I have to present it now to everyone. So hopefully you can see it. I truly hate these people. Disgraced FBI agents, trashed pro-lifers, wanted to stop March for Life. Now look, I get it. Like, if you're cheating on your wife and instead of investigating terrorists and things that the American people are concerned with, you're just hating on regular average day Americans, the stuff like this will come out. But the part that really gets me is, and I've always said that progressives, conservatives are honest by practice and progressives on accident, right? Strzok didn't intend for anyone to see this. Effing marchers, making traffic problems. Of course, pride marches don't produce any traffic, I suppose. The Million Man March wasn't as big as they said it was. FBI Attorney Page, yeah, some extremely offensive video screens set up in front of district. I truly hate these people. No support for the woman who actually has to spend the rest of her life rearing his children. But we care about life, quote unquote. A-holes! FBI Agent Strzok, hey, I have an idea. Snow emergency, cancel the permit. Here's the deal. One, this is the worst argument against abortion. If I wasn't so lazy, I'd show you the Louis C.K. video where he talked about abortion and he ripped on these people. They're anti-abortion. He goes, look, you know, at least you know they're serious. His joke was, these people think you're killing babies. What do you expect them to say? Sorry, I don't want to be such a D about it, but like, can you please not kill the babies? No. They've read about sodium chloride insertion. They understand that the heart gets melted or the brains get melted and the baby feels the pain of that experience. They've read about the different methods of abortion. I gotta look up the other ones here. The one that I used, dilation and extraction, right? Where basically the scissors go in the back of the baby's head, they're expanded and the brains are sucked out. And then the other one, of course, is the where they rip it limb from limb with forceps. These are horrible things. Like, they're bad. They're evil. We shouldn't make up names for them. The problem is when you get into FBI Attorney Page's defense, which is the popular one today, it's now all of a sudden, and this is the classic guilt deflection, right? If you say, look, you know what? I just think it's a bad idea if you've made a decision that results in pregnancy. If you've decided to have fun and have sex and you don't really, like Dave Chappelle said in his comedy skit, which he took hell for, if you're believe that this is okay, then you're not pro-choice, you're anti-consequence because the choice has already been made. Can we have an honest conversation about that? So what they've done, instead of defending that, instead of saying, well, is it okay or not okay to rip a baby to pieces? And then later, is it okay or not okay to save and preserve the body parts so we can sell them for profit? And then what happened most recently was there was an article that said that they were actually keeping the baby alive as to preserve the vital organs while it was ripped apart. I think whether it was extracting the brain or the heart, I don't remember. But just really, really sick stuff. They don't defend any of that. That doesn't come up. What they talk about instead is, well, you know what really pisses me off? That they can pretend to have the moral high ground when they don't even want to take care of the kid after it's born. How deranged, disassociated, or deluded you have to be to think these are apples and oranges. So now, if I think that maybe the only option, I had a buddy at work years ago say, are you one of these guys who is anti-abortion, like doesn't think that's okay? I go, well, let's flip that around. Maybe I'm one of the guys who thinks the solution, the default solution shouldn't be that the baby has to go, right? Like every time something happens, we go, huddle up, guys, huddle up. We got to call a play here, all right? All right, we got the play. We got the audibles. This is what we're trying to accomplish. The first call should not be the baby's got to go. Baby's got to die. I don't care if it's chemically incinerated. I don't care if it's dilated and extracted. I don't care if you're pieces, like the baby has to go. That's kind of a sick default. Can we just admit that? And my friend's like, oh, I guess see your point. Like my mom was a single mom, went through some really hard circumstances. I'm like, all right, then let's talk about the circumstances. Let's talk about the decisions that lead up to the decision where the baby has to pay the price for something it had nothing to do with. Like, let's talk about the moral equivalencies and rationalization that has to be made to argue that that is an acceptable outcome, especially in light of the fact that there are hundreds of thousands of perfectly suitable families who would like a newborn baby. All right, let's just ignore all that and let's say that the people who believe that are actually the hypocrites and the a-holes because they're not willing to swoop in and clean up the mess. Like at the end of a Tea Party rally versus a Occupy Wall Street, those people aren't willing to come and say, you know what, this is our problem, it's our responsibility, and we will own it. We will raise the child. We will make sure that it becomes a competent, responsible, civically minded adult. Because they don't do that, they can't claim that they care about life. The person who says that is a demented, morally twisted person. Now, ignoring for the fact that I don't really have that much shock that two people who are currently adulterers have a huge problem with abortion. I mean, this is kind of the default birth control method of choice. Honestly, like here's two people who are breaking their sacred oaths to their spouses. I don't know what the children's situation is, but divorce wreaks havoc on families. So you're talking about broken homes now, children with mixed parents, which I'm a child of divorce. I look on those memories very fondly. I wish that had been different, but it wasn't. And then you have these people blaming the pro-lifers for traffic and for the fact that they don't actually, like, they don't have to spend the rest of their life rearing that child, and they care about life. Sure. And then the last thing that irritates me, Strzok, hey, I have an idea. Snow emergency, cancel the permit. Let's abuse our authority and take these idiots that we mock, who we are supposedly serving, and joke about using government authority to mess with their lives and impede their liberty. That would be hilarious if they weren't actually in trouble in hot water for doing that exact thing at a much higher level. So the whole kind of theme tonight is the attitude and mindset of a person who thinks like this. There's an article, I won't share it tonight. Actually, maybe I will. I'll link to it. I'll add it to the links if you want to see it. It was on Fee. And I'm going to switch the camera back over to me right now, but I want to show you this real quick. Fee.org, and it talked about the mindset of the Kathy Newman and Jordan Peterson debate, and about how, I'll let you check it out. I've read this one twice. I probably not quite enough to scour through it and speak intelligently on it, but making the case that we really do speak a different language. Kathy Newman is trained in a way that she hears Jordan Peterson saying something totally different than he says, right? So this is a really good article. I'll go back to it. But that's how you get to the point where Strzok and Page are. They're having an illicit affair. They're mocking people who are marching on behalf of the victims of abortion. That's it. I hate abortion. I abhor it. I think it's a horrible stain on society. I think that it's almost inexcusable, but I don't want to ban it. I don't think like Strzok jokes about here, I don't think the solution is to go to the government and say, don't let these people do this anymore. I would much rather go the Hobby Lobby way and say, look, I'm going to wear my beliefs on my sleeve. Here's what I think is important. Here's why I think it's important, and try to persuade people why it's going to make everybody happier and healthier, and not go to the government as my default like they did with Obergefell in the Supreme Court and say, look, we can't get the votes that we need through the democratic process, so let's get the Supreme Court to vote on it, which is how we got Roe versus Wade in the first place. Think about that a little bit. Okay. So anyway, I'm kind of laying the groundwork here about the kind of people who do this sort of thing, who have this mindset, who think they have the moral high ground because they can justify that the way that they feel towards their fellow citizens, and how in the actual, oh, hell yeah, these people got in the position of authority they have, where it's so easy for them to blindly ignore the covenants they made with their family members, their loved ones, and of course, the American people. And let me ask, which one do you think is more important? If you can't, there's a scripture in the Bible that says, he that is faithful in little is faithful in much. If you can't keep your covenants with the person who supposedly is meant to be the most important person in your life, how can you make the case that you can serve faithfully? And there's this whole debate about Bill Clinton, right? And he can do one thing at work and one thing at home. This is more evidence, as if Bill Clinton wasn't enough evidence, that it's not true, right? You show people your character. You manifest your priorities in the way that you behave and comport yourself. So if you're going to claim that you can go to work and be a different person, you can for a while, but eventually the dark deeds come out and people find out that your choices are pretty much linear, right? You don't stray too far from home base. All right. And of course, I mentioned earlier, I thought hate was bad. I thought that you weren't supposed to say that you hated people in our society. This actually can get you fired from your job. It can cause you to lose elections. But if you're in the FBI, it's just hunky-dory. You can hate anyone you want. No one's ever going to care. One of the comments in the article that I really enjoyed was, I wonder why the MSM never publishes the number of marchers or even gives an accurate report about the march. belies their horrid bias. If that many people came to DC to protest guns, support gays, or any number of other progressive causes, we would get 24-hour wall-to-wall coverage and reports on every outlet giving a detailed satellite data-driven analysis and count of how many people were there to support the cause. It sickens me. She's not wrong. So, let's see. Where should we go with this? I got two of the main things I want to talk about. One is, I guess, really the fact that a couple days ago, this guy came out and basically left the FBI so he could become an apologist at CNN. That's a shock to me. The ship's going to sink at some point. I want to talk a little bit about cooling out the voters. Thomas Sowell's one of my favorite economists, favorite intellectual thinkers, and he had an article years ago called Cooling Out the Voters, and he talked about how this is an old school strategy where when everybody's up in arms, like right now when you're watching someone like Sean Hannity who's breaking down the minuscule, almost insignificant tidbits day after day of something like the Strzok and Page drama, eventually people get fatigued and they just don't care anymore, and they just want a denouement. They want an ending. We already have the climax. Now we're on the long, sliding descent towards whatever the culminating finish is, and it never comes. And I said this on my show with Simon the other day. Like, I just want the outcome, right? I'm tired of watching the movie. I want the credits to roll, and in this case, I want heads to roll. I want people to be held responsible for what they're doing in the highest office of the land. Sowell's case was that in the case of someone like Bill Clinton, if you make people go around the ringer long enough, if they ride the carousel going up and down and in circles, eventually they'll grow tired of it and their desires will wane and they'll move on to the next thing. He goes, and once that happens, then you're safe. Then you let a little more time pass by, and then you can do what happens now with Clinton, where we all know what happened. We all know it. We all know he perjured himself under law. There was an article in the New York Times recently, what if Kenneth Starr was right? And this is because of the Me Too movement. I don't have it ready, but what if Kenneth Starr was right? What if everything he said was true? It's kind of this McCarthyist thing of, what if they weren't full of crap and we shouldn't have painted them as liars and traitors? Well, you tell me. And basically making the case that Clinton lied about what he was doing, he perjured himself under oath, and that Hillary punished the women who rightfully critiqued and supposedly slandered Bill Clinton. But there was no political consequence back then, because that's what cooling out the voters is all about. If you make them spin long enough, they'll get tired, they'll move on to the next thing. Then, when enough time has gone by, or in Gladiator, when enough people have died, you will win your freedom. And that's what happened to Bill Clinton. We all know about it. We all joke about it. He paid no political price, and that's why he's a hero. Hillary Clinton got away with Benghazi. What difference at this point does it make? I testified for 11 hours. It's not about what you did. It's not about your honor and your character. It's about whether or not you can convince enough people that you should get it, that there's nothing there. There's no there. And then later down the road, so what? Doesn't matter. I happen to believe that, like OJ, I call it the OJ Simpson theory, that eventually it will catch up with you. Eventually, because of the type of person you are, the decisions that you make, and the things that the people you engage with, you will end up where you belong. Whether that's the end of this life or the next life, it's going to catch up with you. And I think, hopefully, this is finally when we see, after what happened with the IRS, what happened with the Farm Bureau, what's happened with the Department of Justice and Fast and Furious, and all the other scandals we've had recently, that the FBI is the one where we're going to finally look at this and say, someone's got to go. It's about someone has got to pay for these crimes. When the text came out that Obama, I've got let me put it up here right here. Hold on. So slow. I'm going to get my streaming thing. Y'all, you gap in chat at -16. That might have been a while ago. Not sure what that is. FBI informant testifies that he was frustrated watching the U.S. government make numerous decisions benefiting Rosatom and Tenex, while those entities were engaged in serious criminal conduct on U.S. soil. If you don't know about this, this is an FBI whistleblower basically tying the scandal back to Obama. And I'm looking for the article about, oh yeah, here it is. Text message between FBI agents show Obama wants to know everything. Does this surprise anyone? Of course he wants to know everything. They go on to say this article has been updated, that they might have been talking about the Russia investigation and not specifically Hillary being saved from prosecution. But here's a couple questions. And I was talking to Simon earlier about this. Hold on, let me make sure it's presenting. I was talking to Simon earlier about the fact that there's two questions I have. Simon's was, so the really nice thing about this is now that we know the FBI was colluding to throw an election and possibly working with Russia to do it, can Trump use the FBI to throw an election, and how we can expect the media and basically any other government industry to just fall right behind him and help make sure that no one gets prosecuted? It's a really good question. My question is this. In a country where the media is considered sacred, where they are the fourth estate, I get really suspicious when the media, because remember there was the memo coming out and the Democrats said, we can't let this memo come out. It's going to risk national security. There are trade secrets in here. It's going to be devastating the nation. And then the media did the exact opposite of what their charter is. They're supposed to seek for nuggets of truth. They're supposed to go out there and figure out what's really happening. They come out and say, you know what? Democrats are telling the truth. It's way too dangerous. There's too much in this memo. Some of us have seen it. It's just not worth the risk, right? It's the Vietnam War in reverse. It's we can't trust the public with this information because it could be too damaging. That's when my little radar goes up and the red flags to say, when the media is telling us that the information's too public, too dangerous for the public to learn, you know the fix is in. You know. That's why the media exists. If we had an objective media and not a partisan media pretending to be objective, it would have gone totally different. So when the media is trying to protect a political party, it's bad. And like I mentioned earlier, Comey's guy who's leaving the FBI because they're so corrupt is going to CNN to be basically an apologist for the FBI. I saw a comment on that article that said, yep, the fix is in. He's still employed by the FBI. He's just working at CNN. He's got a corporate sponsor, as they say in Fight Club. So that's my main question. When you see the media do that, what can you automatically assume? Nothing good. So if we go back a couple days before, it was, why did the text go missing? Now you've got Obama saying he wants to know everything. If there's a party, anyway, let's move on from this. I got one thing I really want to talk about, and that is this. Oh, no, I got two things still, but with this whole thing with Obama and Uranium One, this has been going on for a while. What's interesting to me about this is this guy that blew the whistle made the case that the government is colluding with the Russians. Basically what Trump is being called a treasonous president for. So here's some of the key facts of the case. One, Campbell participated in closed-door interviews with Senate Judiciary, House Intelligence, and House Oversight and Government Reform Committees. Campbell said that the Russian nuclear officials told him that Moscow hired an American lobbying firm because it was in a unique position to influence the Obama administration, Hillary Clinton in particular. This is the Clinton Foundation all over again. This is what they do. They were trying to discredit him, but they're having little success because the FBI actually paid him $50,000 in 2016. So he was a fake. He's lying. He made it up, but he was on the payroll. So one of those things is probably not true. Campbell has said that he briefed President Obama daily, which means that Obama was aware of the crimes committed by the Russian officials. Now, this is what they're trying to pin on Trump. And as many people are fond of saying, progressives like to accuse you of what they themselves are doing. Now, the FBI forced him to pay $500,000 of his own money to Russian officials as bribes to facilitate his cover. Where did he get 500 grand? And the Bureau never reimbursed him despite the praise of his work and the fact that the ordeal was so stressful that he developed serious life-threatening illnesses. Now, this is funny because one of the reasons Trump, and I was reluctant Trump, I'm not stumping for Trump here, but one of the things Trump was accused of was being someone who did not pay his debts, someone who didn't pay his contractors and left people out in the lurch, which is what the FBI did to one of their own because they couldn't take the risk of this getting back to Obama. That's pretty shady. Now, initially reports indicated that he was threatened by the administration in an attempt to silence him before the 2016 election as they did not want this case hurting Hillary Clinton. Interesting. I got a video here I want to show you. After then Attorney General Loretta Lynch's Justice Department learned that he filed a lawsuit in Maryland, it was not immediately clear that the lawsuit, what it was about. However, Sarah Carter reports that Campbell filed a lawsuit in Maryland federal court against the Russian nuclear entities asking for the return of the money he had to launder, which is a federal crime, out of his own paychecks. So if he's willing to do that, it's because he feels like someone else committed a larger crime. There's a pretty good list down here, but I want to go to the very end where it says he said that he was told by the FBI that the politics of the Obama administration overruled justice from taking place against the criminal activity of what was happening. So I'm going to turn it back to me for a second because there's something I want to show you here, but I got to pull it up. All right, give me one sec. I had it up here, and it's not, but it's pretty awesome. It's Obama doing an interview. I think this is, he's still president. I don't remember what year it is. or why I deleted it. That was a mistake. It was up here. All right, while I do this, a couple of the comments from this article were great. Number one was, I believe it happened. However, the mainstream media won't report on it, so it never happened. Wake me up when someone does a perp walk and is let out in handcuffs. This is what I talked about earlier with cooling out the voters. Someone said, treason. The Rosenbergs were executed for less than this. It is interesting, isn't it? Read the Rosenberg case. It's kind of like Watergate. They're saying this is worse than Watergate. When we actually were able to pin something on communists, we put them to death. We ended their lives. And we don't hang traitors anymore. Heck, we celebrate them. Look at Chelsea Manning and Bo Bergdahl. The president goes out and praises them for their bravery and their sacrifice. It's kind of a sick, backwards world we live in. You got John Kerry, you got Jane Fonda, you got Obama. The disincentives are not there. Whether these people should be executed for being treasonous, it has happened in the past. It's something, there should be disincentives. This is my thing. There are reasons why these people should be punished to discourage this kind of dishonest information. My main tagline from the show today is, must Carthage be destroyed? Now, what I want to do is I want to read an article from someone that I like a lot, and I can link to this article in the comments below. By the way, if you're just joining us, I do a live stream every Thursday night. Today it's a night late because my partner was unavailable, and we won't do one next week because I'm out of town. I'm taking my kids to the Disneyland, to ESPN World. But every week we're going to do it right here. I've got some new tools to help with the stream, so I don't have to take so long getting these different screens up. And most importantly, I'm going to start inviting guests from some of my favorite news sites to come do this with me so we can have some more fun, make some more jokes, and so I don't have to do all the talking because I'm not a huge fan of that, to be honest. But like I said before, this man right here is Cato. I'm a big, big fan of Cato. They call him the last Roman citizen. And every time he gave a speech, he would finish it with the term, Carthage must be destroyed. Now, what's really great about this, hold on, I'm going to move an article over, is it's one of those things today where you don't talk like that. You can't, like, if you have political enemies or people that are committing intellectual warfare against you, you don't say you want to be killed. You say, you know, we gotta compromise. We gotta reach across the aisle. My friends from the other side of the aisle have disagreements about X, Y, and Z. No. I want to talk about what Cato did back in the day and what cost him his life. So I'll read on, and like I said, I'll put this article in the notes if you want to check it out. It's by Peter Skirkis. It says, prior to the Third Punic War against Carthage in the 2nd century before Christ, Cato the Elder was said to have ended all his speeches in the Roman Senate by saying, Carthage must be destroyed. He didn't say defeated, he said destroyed. What do you suppose motivated this distinguished statesman to take such an extreme position? Actually, hold on. Oh, man. Are you serious? Is that what you meant by -16? That probably was. Check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2. So I've been using the wrong mic all night. Dang it. That sucks.